I'm here to inspect the vehicles.
Who authorized this?
The owner, we need to see the Mustang.
Fine. This way.
Open the main garage.
All right. Yeah, the black one is a 69, the red one is a 67 Mustang.
Impressive. What engine?
A 289 V8. Let me show you.
Great, I'll note that.
The body is original.
Excellent, no major flaws.
The lock wasn't mine. That's what made my stomach drop before I even stepped out of the truck. My lake garage, isolated, quiet, miles from any suburban nonsense, now had a polished steel padlock hanging from the handle like it had always belonged there. But it didn't, and neither did the cars I could see through the dusty window. Inside, under the dim amber glow, sat 3 classic cars. Not just any cars, pristine showroom-level machines. A cherry red 67 Mustang, a glossy black Corvette Stingray, and something older, maybe a 50s Cadillac, gleaming like it had never seen rain. They were arranged neatly, almost respectfully, like a private collection. But this was my garage. I stood there, keys in hand, trying to process what I was seeing. No broken lock, no forced entry, just replaced, like someone had calmly decided my property was now theirs. Then I noticed the note taped to the door. HOA storage allocation, do not remove. Unauthorized interference will result in fines. I actually laughed, out loud, because it had to be a joke. There was no HOA here. Not now, not ever. My cabin sat on independent land, far outside any neighborhood boundary. I bought it specifically to avoid nonsense like this. Still, someone clearly didn't get the memo. I took a photo of the note, the lock, the cars, everything. Then I tried the door again. Solid. Whoever did this wasn't playing around. That's when a white SUV rolled slowly up the gravel road behind me. I turned, already knowing what I'd see. A woman stepped out, sunglasses oversized, posture stiff with authority she clearly assigned herself. Clipboard in hand. Of course, you're not authorized to access that unit, she said before I could even speak. I blinked. That unit? That's my garage. She smiled, tight, rehearsed. This property has been reassigned under HOA emergency storage guidelines. I stared at her, trying to decide if this was real life or some elaborate prank. There is no HOA here. She tilted her head like I'd just said the sky was green. Sir, I'm the president. And just like that, I realized this wasn't a mistake. This was going to be a problem. Because whoever she was, she had no idea who she was dealing with. And more importantly, she had no idea she just trespassed on land that didn't belong to her. Little fake kingdom. I looked past her toward my garage again, then back at her, trying to keep my voice steady. Let me get this straight. You broke into my property, stored cars inside my garage, locked me out, and now you're telling me I'm not allowed in? Her expression didn't change. If anything, she looked bored, like she'd had this conversation before and already knew how it ended. No one broke in, she replied calmly, tapping her clipboard. This structure was listed as unregistered, auxiliary storage within HOA jurisdiction. We secured it to protect community assets. I let out a slow breath. You mean you claimed it? She ignored that. You should have received notices. I don't live in your HOA, I said flatly. This land is private, bought and paid for. County records will show that. She gave a small, dismissive laugh. People say that all the time when they fall behind on compliance. Compliance? I repeated. With what? Your imagination? That finally got a reaction. Her jaw tightened slightly, but she recovered fast. Sir, if you continue to interfere, I'll have to escalate this. Those vehicles are under HOA protection, and any damage or unauthorized access will result in fines starting at $500 per day. I stared at her for a second, then chuckled under my breath. You're fining me on my own property. She made a quick note on her clipboard. Consider this your verbal warning. That's when I pulled out my phone, not to argue, but to call the county office. I stepped a few feet away, keeping her in view as I explained the situation. The woman didn't leave. She just stood there, arms crossed now, watching me like I was the one trespassing. After a few minutes, I got confirmation. Yeah, the county clerk said. Your parcel is completely outside HOA boundaries. Always has been. I thanked them, hung up, and turned back to her. You hear that? I said. You're not just wrong. You're way out of line. She didn't flinch. County offices are often outdated. Our HOA records are current. I almost laughed again. The confidence was unreal. Okay, I said slowly. Then let's do this properly. You unlock my garage, remove your cars, and we forget this ever happened. Her lips pressed into a thin line. That's not going to happen. Then what is? I asked. She stepped closer, lowering her voice like she was delivering something serious. If you persist, I'll involve law enforcement. You'll be cited for obstruction, and possibly vandalism if you attempt to tamper with HOA property. There it was. The threat. I nodded once, pocketing my phone. Go ahead, I said. Call them. For the first time, she hesitated. Just a second, but I saw it. Because something told me she wasn't used to people calling her bluff. And I was just getting started. She didn't expect me to call her bluff. I could see it in the way her fingers tightened around that clipboard, in the slight shift of her stance, like she suddenly wasn't as grounded as before. But pride is a powerful thing, and whatever authority she believed she had, she wasn't about to back down now. Fine, she said sharply, pulling out her phone. I will. I nodded, stepping aside like I was giving her the stage. Please do. She turned slightly, lowering her voice as she spoke into the phone. But I could still catch fragments. Unauthorized individual. HOA property dispute. Refusing compliance. Was almost impressive how confidently she built a completely false narrative in real time. When she hung up, she looked at me with renewed certainty. They're on their way. I suggest you reconsider your position. I leaned against my truck, crossing my arms. I'm exactly where I should be. The wait stretched longer than either of us expected. The lake breeze moved quietly through the trees, and for a moment, the whole situation felt surreal again, like I'd wake up and find my garage exactly how I left it. But the lock was still there. The cars were still inside, and she was still standing on my land, like she owned it. About 20 minutes later, the sound of tires on gravel broke the silence. A county sheriff's vehicle pulled up, followed by another behind it. Two deputies stepped out, calm but alert, hands resting near their belts as they approached. Afternoon, one of them said, looking between us. We got a call about a property dispute? Yes, she jumped in quickly, stepping forward. This man is attempting to interfere with secured HOA property. He's been aggressive and is refusing to comply with community regulations. The deputy turned to me. Sir, I kept my voice level. This is my land. That's my garage. She locked me out and stored those cars inside without permission. There is no HOA jurisdiction here. The deputies exchanged a glance. Ma'am, the second deputy said, do you have documentation showing this property is part of your HOA? She handed over her clipboard like it was a badge of office. Everything you need is right there. They looked it over for a moment. Then the first deputy asked, do you have a parcel map or official boundary record? She hesitated, just like before. Our internal records. Official records, he clarified. That pause stretched a little too long. I reached into my truck, pulled out a folded document, and handed it over. County verified deed and map. They studied it carefully. Then one of them looked up at her, expression no longer neutral. Ma'am, he said, this property isn't part of your HOA. And just like that, everything shifted. The silence that followed felt heavier than anything that had come before. The deputy's words hung in the air, sharp and final. Ma'am, this property isn't part of your HOA. For the first time since she stepped out of that SUV, her confidence cracked. Not shattered, but fractured enough to see the doubt underneath. That's not possible, she said quickly, her voice tightening. There must be an error. Our records clearly. Your records are wrong, the deputy interrupted, not harshly, but firmly enough to end the argument before it could grow. County documentation takes precedence. She blinked, glancing between them, then at me, like she was trying to recalibrate the entire situation in her head. But there was no version of this where she came out in control anymore. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. The truth was already doing the work. The second deputy stepped closer to the garage, examining the lock. "Did you install this?" he asked her. She hesitated again. That hesitation said everything. "Yes," she admitted finally, but her tone shifted, softer now. "It was necessary to secure the vehicles. On property you don't own," he replied. "They were at risk," she insisted, though it sounded weaker now. "We had to act quickly." "By trespassing," the first deputy added. Her lips parted, but no words came out this time. The deputy turned to me. "Sir, do you want to press charges for unlawful entry and property interference?" That question seemed to hit her harder than anything else. Her posture changed instantly, shoulders dropping just slightly, the authority draining out of her stance. "There's no need for that," she said quickly, stepping forward. "This is clearly a misunderstanding. We can resolve this civilly." I raised an eyebrow. "Now it's a misunderstanding?" She ignored that, focusing on the deputies. "We'll remove the vehicles immediately and restore access." The second deputy nodded once. That would be a good start. Then he looked back at me. "Your call, sir." I took a moment before answering, letting the weight of it settle. Part of me wanted to push it, to make sure she never tried something like this again. But another part of me just wanted my property back, clean and simple. "Get the cars out," I said finally. "Remove the lock, and we're done," she exhaled, almost like she'd been holding her breath the entire time. "Of course." Within minutes, she was on her phone again, but this time, her voice didn't carry that same authority. It was urgent, controlled, careful. The deputies stayed while a transport truck was arranged, and as I stood there, watching everything unravel, I realized something. This wasn't just about a garage anymore. It was about someone who had gone unchecked for far too long, finally being told no. The transport truck arrived just before sunset, its engine rumbling through the quiet lake air like a closing statement. Two workers stepped out, clearly confused by the tension still lingering in the scene. But they didn't ask questions. They didn't need to. One look at the deputies standing nearby told them everything they needed to. No, this wasn't routine. She stood off to the side now. No clipboard, no sunglasses, no performance. Just a woman watching control slip completely through her fingers. One by one, the cars were rolled out of my garage. Up close, they were even more impressive. Flawless paint, polished chrome, engines that probably hadn't seen a speck of dust in years. Someone cared about those cars. A lot. Which made it even stranger that they'd been placed here, in a garage that wasn't even part of the system she claimed to run. Or maybe that was the point. Maybe she thought no one would challenge her this far out. Maybe she'd done this before. The Mustang went up first, then the Corvette, then the Cadillac. Each one secured carefully, professionally, like the people handling them actually respected property, unlike the person who ordered them here. When the last car cleared the threshold, the garage felt different, lighter, like it could finally breathe again. The second deputy stepped forward and nodded toward the door. "Go ahead, sir." One of the workers handed me a set of bolt cutters. I didn't rush it. I walked up slowly, looked at that polished lock one more time, the symbol of everything that had just happened, and snapped it clean in one motion. The sound echoed sharper than I expected. Final. I pulled the door open fully, stepping inside. Everything was exactly where I left it. Tools, shelves, the faint smell of motor oil and lake air. Untouched, except for the space those cars had taken. I turned back toward her. She didn't meet my eyes at first. When she finally did, there was no authority left. Just something quieter. Embarrassment, maybe. Or realization. "This won't happen again," she said. It wasn't a promise. It was an admission. I nodded once. "It better not." The deputies wrapped things up quickly after that. No citations issued, no arrests made, but the warning was clear. And it didn't need to be written down. As the truck pulled away and her SUV followed behind it, the dust slowly settled back over the road, like the whole incident was being erased in real time. But it wouldn't be, because word spreads, and somewhere, in whatever neighborhood she actually did control, people were going to hear about this. About the day her authority stopped at a property line she never bothered to check. I closed the garage, this time with my own lock, and for the first time all day, everything was exactly where it belonged.
You can't do that. That's private property.
I have a right to see what's inside.
Step back. Let the officers handle it.
No, I'm not leaving until I see it. All right, it's open.
Good.
Let's move.
Proceed with caution, gentlemen.